Hey guys, welcome back to class. This is Brian from Band Anxiety, and if you guys aren't subscribed yet, feel free, hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you know when I have new videos coming out every day. As well as follow me on Instagram so you can have a raw feeling of who I am in everyday life outside of my coaching. So today what I wanted to talk about is person-environment transaction, PET, the pets of life. Now, we're going to get into the biosocial psychology of humans. This is kind of my background. We studied epigenetics when I was in school, and it's basically the idea that your genes have a switch. And depending on the environment, they will switch on or off. So for example, if your father is overweight and he used to eat when he was young for long time in adolescence, you will basically go through the same process unless you stop yourself either by taking yourself out of the environment or nurturing yourself in a manner where the process doesn't develop. Now this is nature and nurture, not nature versus nurture. It's a combination of both, and it's very important that you understand where it's coming from because our genes will be determined by how we influence them. There's a lot of research that has been conducted that shows that we can actually change our genes and DNA just by thinking, and our emotions, as well as putting ourselves in the environment. So when it comes to the person-environment transaction, we have three different areas that occur because we influence the environment as much as the environment influences us. So for the first one, we have provocative, active. People are actively seeking out their environments, or they're trying to restrain themselves. So people that are outgoing, they'll actively seek out thrill-seeking behaviors, and people that don't, they'll probably stay home, play video games, etc. Now, not to generalize anything, but we do have extroverted and introverted individuals. Next, we have the evocative. The evocative is basically a reaction that we make the environment do because of our personality or who we are in the world. Our personality, if it's very kind, gentle, outgoing, very social, then people will reciprocate that towards us. If we're very mean, if we are very reclusive, then the environment will do the same thing. The evocation of emotions allows us to reaffirm who we are. It also works with genes in terms of attractiveness. So if you're very attractive, then the world will reaffirm you by telling you that you are attractive, by giving you stuff, giving you compliments, and allowing you to move in the world with ease, a facilitation as you're going through your life. Finally, we have reactive. Reactive is basically how people react in the environments, even if they're put in the same situation or circumstance. Now, we've seen sometimes even with identical twins that even though they are still in the same environment, they could develop their behaviors and personalities differently, such as siblings. Even though they're in the same household, they turn out completely different because of how they are actively seeking their environments and the evocation of emotions that they're receiving from the environments. Now, let's look at how our personalities match our environments. We have an actively seeking proponent in us. We learn this through the archetypes that we learned yesterday when it came to the looking glass. We kind of want to see how the world sees us, and allowing us to do that will allow us to actively seek our environments. Now, the environment also helps us out to develop our personalities. We have 4 different areas. Attraction, selection, attrition, and manipulation. Now, these 4 areas allow us to see how we are actively seeking the environment or the environment is actively seeking us. When it comes to attraction, we're basically attracted to a certain way of living, whether that's rock climbing, whether that's racing, whether that's in the forest. We have an affinity for things depending on our personality. Now, when it comes to selection, this would be the opposite end. This is where the environment is actually choosing us. For example, a business will choose us based on our personality. Maybe we have an outgoing personality and it's suitable for sales. Or we're people oriented and we're really good with children. Could be teaching. When we look at attrition, we are looking at how people's personalities do not fit in the environment and they are basically weeded out. It's almost like survival of the fittest, right? You'll be basically set in a position, maybe in a corporation or maybe retail, and you're not meeting the criteria because you don't like people, you're not goal oriented, whatever it may be. This will weed you out because it's almost like a dropping out. As you can see, people sometimes drop out of school because it's not for them. This is attrition. This is what we're looking at when people are basically eliminated from the process. Finally, we have manipulation, which is how people try to control their environment based on their personality and how they want it to match their personality. Make them feel comfortable. We know that if the environment doesn't feel natural or safe to us, then it's going to be very difficult. So we try to do what we can to control. Now, as we take these in consideration, as well as how we are interacting with the environment, let's look at the DISC model. Now, for those that aren't familiar with the DISC model, it's basically a Punnett square that categorizes personalities. Now, what I was able to see was that in the DISC model, we actually have the Myers-Briggs index. The personality index has 16 personalities that kind of fit everybody in these categories. Now, it's very difficult to know if you're an NFP, just like me, or if you're an NTJ, and if you are NFJ. How do you know if people fall in these categories when you have to memorize so many of the personalities? Now, you can actually take an online test. It's actually free. Feel free to do that. I'll provide the link below so you can take a look at it and see what personality you actually fall in. So for now, what we want to do is kind of check where the DISC falls in. So for any ENTJs, ESTPs, EFNJs, ESTJs, you're going to fall into the D section. No pun intended. So D is basically dominant, driver. It has this aggressiveness to it. You are known as the aggressor, the director. You will have executive jobs just based on your personality. Now let's look at ENTPs, ESFPs, ESFJs, ENFPs. Now, before we proceed, I want you to understand that each letter actually has its own qualification in terms of personality. So we have introverted, extroverted, we have intuitive, we have feeling, we also have thinking, judgment, perceptive, and they all fall in these 16 categories. Now, depending on what kind of person you are, you will have one more dominant than the other, and that would be your predominant personality. Now, when it comes to I's, we're looking at influencers, we're looking at presenters, we're looking at people that are very expressive. These individuals are still outgoing, but they're more people-oriented than they are task-oriented. So when we're looking at the top half, we're looking at outgoing and active individuals. When we're looking at the bottom, we're looking at thoughtful and reserved individuals. Why? Because we do have people that are extroverted and introverted. So this is your compass that you're going to use as you're going out into the real and new world. Why? Because it's good to understand where people are coming from. It's good to understand their values and their personalities as well, so you can have more effective and better communication as you're going through your days. Now, when it comes to INTJs, ISTPs, ISTJs, INFJs, you will have the conscientiousness, or sorry, the steadiness. You guys are the weird people. Just kidding. Again, these individuals are more task oriented, while these individuals are more people oriented. The steadiness, the strategist, the analyst, these people are really good at STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. You guys will fall into this category. Now, again, not to pigeonhole anybody, but that's kind of how our personalities kind of fall in. Finally, we have the conscientiousness, which is C. And you guys are the amiable ones. You guys are the mediator ones. You guys are individuals that kind of understand people but aren't as aggressive as the influencers. Now that we have a pretty good idea of who we are in terms of our own internal compass, then we can take it out in the real world. What are we going to do? Now that we are a dominant influencer, steadiness, or conscientious person, we can either take active action to seek out the environments that fit our personalities, or we can try to evoke a response from the environment that will meet our personalities. What we do want to avoid, by all means, is the reactive response. This transaction that we have from reaction does not help us. It still feeds into the loop of the belief system. Until we stop reacting, we won't be able to take control over our lives. For the next video, we're going to focus on presence. I'm going to give you a self-evaluation that you can do every single day to see if you are being present. Being able to have the self-awareness, again, will allow you to see and understand yourself so you can love yourself. You want to be able to love who you were born to be, because everybody's different. Everybody has their own journeys. The only thing that is different is your life story. So let's make that the part that is unique and let our self-development develop as it's supposed to. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. And I will be seeing you in the next video. And until next time, I'm out and about what I just talked about. Peace.